Quick announcement, 40% off all tutorials. That's on my Etsy shop for the next week. That's my Black Friday sales. 40% off all of my written tutorials. Get yourselves on over to Etsy. It's www.kellyjonesjewellery.etsy.com. Hi, I'm Kelly from Kelly Jones Jewellery. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this pendant. I always use dead soft copper. This is raw copper uncoated, and I buy all my wire, because I'm in the UK, I buy all my wire from Metal Clays For You. I love this design, and I've done some little earrings to match. I haven't put my ear wires on yet though. Put all the usual links in the description below. I've got Facebook and Etsy. Please mention me when making work from my tutorials. I would love to have a look at everything that you make. Please tag me on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll try and comment if I can. Oh, and there's a link to my Etsy shop, which the link's on the screen and below, if you want to pop over and have a look at the other written tutorials that I do. To make this pendant, you'll need a 0.8mm wire, that's 20 gauge, and I've cut 4 lengths at 10 inches, which is 26 centimetres. You'll need 0.315mm weaving wire, that's 28 gauge, and I've cut 100 centimetres. I've wound mine onto a bobbin. If you don't have a bobbin, don't worry. These are Bobeeze bobbins by Beadsmith. It just stops the wire from flailing about while you're working. They're really useful. I'll put a link in the description below to the size and the weight and that of that one that I use. You'll need a teardrop cabochon. Mine is 30 by 12mm, and you can use any size stone you like for this. Just remember to adjust your wire lengths accordingly. I've just made some little earrings of the same design, so you really can go as small with the stone as you like. I'll show you those when they're finished. Tools, I've got pliers, round nose pliers, wire cutters and nylon pliers. I just use the nylon pliers for straightening the wires and that, so if you don't have those, don't worry about it. And all my tools are Tronex. I'll put links, I'll put the details of what all the tools are in the description below. So take your 4 main wires, find the centre point of them, put your thumb in the centre like that, and then we'll start weaving just to the left of your thumb. So take your weaving wire now, and we're going to start with 3 wraps around the bottom wire. Just making sure that's pretty central. So we'll go over the second wire twice, so we're wrapping around the bottom 2 wires. We'll come up between those 2 wires. We'll go over the third, so we're wrapping around the middle wires twice. Come up between those 2. Go straight over the top, so now you're wrapping around the top 2 wires. Come up between the bottom 2. And we'll go over the third, so you wrap around the middle 2 again. Under the bottom wire, over the second, so we're wrapping around the bottom 2. And then we'll go 2 wraps around the bottom wire. Push it together. Make sure you're still pretty central. And we'll repeat that again, so do that again. So finish with 3 wraps around the bottom wire, push your weave together, and we're going to cut the weaving wire at both ends. Flatten down any sharp bits. So make sure that your weave is still central, and we're going to grip the right hand one I'm gripping it to the right because I'm going to bend it now, and it always bends it next to the pliers, and I want a pretty central bend. So you want to put a nice V in your weave there. So now we're going to bend it around your stone, and I'm doing it a little bit different this time. I'm not putting the V of the stone into there, I'm putting the round end into it. I know it seems a little bit crazy, but I did it earlier with these earrings, and I thought it looked quite nice having a gap at the bottom of the stone. So that's what we're going to try and achieve. So you want to make this V into an angle. I've just put more of an angle on mine. So you get a little gap, a nice little gap below your stone at the bottom there. So now this is the fiddly part. We've got to hold the stone straight, and we've got to wrap the wires around it, and the stone is going to keep wanting to go one way or the other. We've got to keep it as straight as we can. Just bring the wires around the stone the best we can. Mine's gone off the one way a little bit, so I'm going to correct it here and then put the stone in and have another go. But that's how you want the stone to sit. So you've got a nice gap at the bottom, and the rest of it goes up to the top of the stone there. So when you've got the shape and it's doing what you want it to do, make sure your wires haven't crossed over each other. They're still nice and flat next to each other on both sides. And then just grab the top where it meets the top of the stone and just wriggle your wires until they're straight next to each other. So now you should have this kind of shape. What I'm going to do is, because we've got this shape there, I'm just going to exaggerate the bends. It separates the top wires a little bit. And we can see the join now where the wires come together there. So now we're going to do a little weave at the top here just to hold the wires together. And we're going to match this one. So having your peaks facing up, we're just going to work here on the right hand side. We're going to do the same weave that we did before. So take your weaving wire and wrap 3 times around that bottom wire. I do it up here because it's easier to wrap around when you've got the little wraps. So pull that down to about there. And we're going to do the same wrap as we did before. So we've got 2 wraps around the bottom 2 wires. Come up between those 2. 2 wraps around the middle 2 wires. Come up between those 2. 2 wraps around the top 2 wires. Whoops. Bent my wires and almost knocked the camera off at the same time. Come up between the bottom 2, 2 wraps around the middle wires. And then 2 wraps around the bottom 2 wires. finish with 3 wraps around that bottom wire. So it finishes right at the top there, push it together. We're going to cut those wires and then we're going to do a weave on the other side too. So turn it over. So we're now going to work on this side, separating the wire so it's a bit easier to weave. But now we've got to do the weave upside down, because if you look at the other ones, we've got all these points coming forward. So we want this one coming forward as well. So we're going to work it upside down. So take your weaving wire, wrap 3 times around the top wire. Put it in roughly the same position as the other one. So we'll come up between the middle 2 and we'll go 2 wraps around the top 2 wires. And then come up between the bottom 2, and it's a bit fiddly trying to get your wire around that bend. We'll go 2 wraps around the middle wires. So you get the idea, we're just doing the same weave, but it's upside down. 2 wraps around the top wires. Come up between the top 2. 2 wraps around the middle wires. Come up between the middle 2. And 2 wraps around the top 2 wires. Oh yeah, I've been saying that right and I haven't got it wrong. I'll write it on the screen if I have. And then we finish with 3 wraps around the top wire. So I always forget to put that we're going to need a jump ring. So today I got my jump ring ready and I got all my things together. I got everything ready and I was really pleased with myself that I remembered to put a jump ring on. And then I realised we didn't need one. So that's the kind of day I'm having so far. So there we have it. So we've got to cut off the beginning of the weaving wire. We'll keep this still attached. So all of our weaves are now facing the same way. They're all facing forwards. You probably won't notice it that much when it's done, but I like to keep it all tidy and organised and you know what's going on. If you've got them all facing in the same direction, you know which is your front and which is your back and everything. We're going to test the shape of the stone as well, because I might have bent the wires a bit there. Definitely still fits. So now let your wires meet at the top there, and we're going to take the weaving wire around the entire thing. And you don't want your wires to cross over each other, and you want them to sit nice next to each other. So take your time getting it right. So I'm going to go around about 5 or 6 times. Hold it all together securely, then take a back wire. Wrap around that back wire 3 times. And then make sure your stone still fits. That's what we have so far. So turn to the back. Oh, look at those colours. And where the we're going to pull this back wire back a little bit just to make a gap, so we can reach around that wire with the pliers. And where the wire meets the stone here, you don't want to do it right at the bottom because then you'll see it from the front. So you want to go up a little bit and grab the wire where it meets the stone. Grip your wire, holding the top in place with your thumb. We're going to twist that wire in. I'm just pressing the wire against the stone there. And then we're going to do the other side. So where the stone meets the, I do love the colours on that stone, where it meets the wire there, grab that wire, holding the top in place, twist the wire in. And then turn to the front. Oh, I've got a lovely colour on the front as well. I do like this stone. For the front, I'm going to pull this wire forward. I'm going to pull them all apart a little bit. Don't really want to put a bend in it. My big nails have put a bend in that wire. And then on the other side, so carefully bend it, pull it forward without putting a dink in it. And we'll separate the other wires too. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give the top and the bottom a squeeze. So instead of bending the front wires with the pliers, we're just going to capture the stone with the wires straight and just squeeze them around a little bit like that. So it's being held in place, and we've got that gap at the bottom. That's what I wanted. And the back is held definitely in place. I think I'm going to exaggerate that bend a little bit more. So now moving to the wires at the top. And what I want you to do is separate the wires so they're not crossing over each other and you can see the wires and where they are. Pull them apart a little bit so you can see which one's the front, which one's the back. And then we're going to take the back three and scoop them down out the way, and on the other side take the back three and just carefully just bend them out the way for now. So we've got the two front wires remaining. And then bring your wire to the front. So we're going to go around that front wire. We've gone around the bottom wire, straight over the top, up between, and around the top wire. Okay, so that's our repeat. So that's our repeat. Once around the bottom wire, over the top, up between. So we've gone around the bottom wire, then around both wires, then around the top wire. And then we start again. So we go around the bottom wire. I've let go of it now. Over the top. around the top wire, around the bottom wire, around both wires, over the top, around the bottom, around both wires, around the top. And we'll keep repeating that weave. So I've done about 3 centimetres of that weave. And this little weave's going to be our bail, so we bend it forward at the base. And then carefully, trying to keep it straight, we want to bend it all the way around to the back. And then where the wire comes in there, I'm just going to bend it out so it sits like that. Try and get it nice and straight. So it's always best to take your time and make sure it's all, you got the right shapes, it's all nice and straight, because it is quite tricky to try and correct it afterwards. So if we can correct it as we're going, then we're winning. So now you're going to take the weaving wire. Did I finish that off? So where your weave ended, you need a few wraps on that single wire just to finish off the weave. So that now comes to there. I'm going to separate these wires a little bit. Make sure it's straight. And then we're going to take this wire and we're going to go around the whole thing. I think I'm aiming to go just below the wires there just to keep it all tidy. So now you're tying the back of the bail, the wires, to that middle section there. Go around about 3 times, I think I should do it. And then go around one of these back wires about 3 times just to make sure it's secure. And then we're going to cut that wire. Flatten that down. So now we've got a little bail on the top. So that's what we've got so far. I'm so fussy, I'm never happy with anything, so I'm just going to squeeze these wires and play with the bail until I'm happy with how straight it is. Right, so let's lose those wires at the back so they're not in the way. So I'm going to bend them up a bit out the way for now. And I'm going to cut them quite short, making sure I don't cut anything else at the same time. Oh, I want it about there. And this one at about the same kind of length. So that side's definitely shorter. I'll take a bit off that one. About the same length. And then take your round nose pliers. And we're just going to curl these. Oh, it's hard to show you because I'm so close to the table. So you're going to twist this one this way. And this one the other way. can't show you because I've just curled them round into little tiny curls just to get them out the way. Right, now I want to make sure we know which wires are which here. So we've got 3 on each side. So we're going to take the first wire and we're going to bend it directly forward. And we're going to bring it over the wire a little bit, over the stone, over to the left a little bit, and curve it around to the right. Focusing on this shape here at the top, you want it to come over and then round. Take the other wire, the front one, bring it forward. I think it's just best just to really take your time and watch the wire shaping as you do this, because you want it symmetrical, especially if you're as fussy as me. So you bring it over to the right a little bit, and you want to bring it down and around this way. Let them overlap a little bit so that I can pull it free now and have a bit of a gap between them. So that's got to come down there. So they both come forward and to their sides. So I'm going to pull them apart a little bit. We've got a little bit of a gap. I have to keep trying to remember to speak up because I know I do mumble. I feel like I'm talking to myself. I am the only one here. So next you want the next wire. And you want to bring that forward. So we've come forward, but we're sort of positioned over the top of the other one because we're next to it. And we want that one to do the same thing. So I'm going to bend it over to the left and then scoop it down and over to the right. And then take the next one on the right and bring him forward. Again, over the top of the wires. Over to the right. I'm overlapping to start with and then it'll fall into place in a moment. And then over to the left. And I'm just easing them into place there so I don't misshape anything. And we want those to come between the first 2 wires. Does that make sense? So we've got this shape starting to take place. So when you're happy that you've got the shape that you want, just lean on those front wires and press them down really firmly. So you're pressing the wires into place, because you want that bit there to be quite flat. And then holding it all together, so I'm pressing a little bit further down we're now going to take the wires. We don't want to misshape it. We want to take the wires to the back. So checking that they're symmetrical, hold it in place and bend them carefully down over the side to the back, and then check you've got the shape that you want. So when you've got the shape that you want, you don't want to hold it again at the front and the sides if you can, and then just bend the sides straight over the back on both sides so they wrap around the back there. So I'll just pull the top wires up out the way for now, just while we attach those at the back. So I've really squeezed it, so I've pressed them nice and flat against the back there. And I'm just going to attach them around these back wires. So I'm going to cut them. I like having a bit of extra wire to work with, so if you notice I do make the wires a little tiny bit longer, just so you've got something to handle when you're doing your shaping. When your wires get short, it's a nightmare to try and hold them. So then here, I'm not making excuses, honest. So when you get to here, and a little bit of length on there. Then you want to make sure you've got, I'm tied up in all my wires, make sure you've got a little bit of gap behind these back wires. Just pull it away from the stone a little bit so you can get your wires round there. We can squash it back down in a bit. So keep checking the shaping at the front as you're doing this, because you don't want to pull that out of shape now. And then I'm going to use my round nose pliers, and I'm holding the sides, hopefully so it doesn't move too much. And I'm going to bend this wire around so it goes around that back wire. And I'm not going to do it tight, because if I pull it tight I might pull that one side a bit wonky. So I'll do that with both of these wires again. I'm holding the front in place. I felt that move then. And then do the same for the other side. So holding it down, curl it around and send it around that back wire. So I've still not tightened them up yet, because I'm keeping an eye on the shaping of those wires there. And I'm not gonna pull them round into place with the round nose pliers, because that'll pull them all out of shape. I'm just gonna try and tease them into place with the regular pliers, so it's not actually moving the front wire. I'm holding the side all in place again. So keep checking that shape. And then when you're happy with the shape and you've wrapped your wires around, now we can cut a little bit of length off those and finish wrapping them around the wire there. So I'm just pressing them around So I've attached those, pressed them down, keep checking on the shape at the front there. And I think I'm going to add a little bead. I think that'll look nice with a little bead there. I'll have to see if it'll fit. I quite like that bead there. What I did was I popped a bead on a bit of weaving wire, and I popped the wire between the wires, between these base wires at the front there. I quite like that sitting there. And then I've pulled these two front middle wires together a little bit. I'm going to secure that bead by going around that top wire a few times on each side. So I've wrapped 3 times around that top wire on both sides to attach the bead, and I'm going to cut those wires. So now moving to those top 2 wires, I'm going to bring that forward. Over the bail section and around. And then the other one, bring that directly forward and take your time, bring it over to the right and slowly scoop it around, try and match the shape of the other wire. When you're happy with the shape, hold the front as tightly as you can. We're going to send these wires around that bail. It's got to pull out of place a little bit. I'm going to do it with this one. Hold it in place, send it around through that bail section weave. I've totally let go of that. Try and hold it the best you can. And then try and pull it through and reshape if you've lost your shape like I have. Reshape your wires to get that little shape again on the front. And then bend the wires over the front, because that one comes up underneath. That can only go over a little bit. And that one goes over the top. Check the shaping of that little bit we've just done on the front. And then we've got to cut that wire so it just squeezes around and it goes behind those wires there. We want that quite short. Hold in the front again and squeeze in place there. And then this wire, I'm going to cut that quite short and finish it behind. So it's got to go around the bail. Again, I'm holding it in place at the front there. Trying not to mark the wires too much. And there we have it, I've oxidised it. I'll put a link in the description below of how I oxidise my pieces. I did do a video a while ago. And I hope you found this video easy to follow. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and please mention me when sharing your finished work made from my tutorial. See you in the next one. Bye! Quick announcement, 40% off all tutorials. That's my Etsy shop for the next week. That's my Black Friday sales, 40% off all of my written tutorials. Get yourselves on over to Etsy. It's www.kellyjonesjewellery.etsy.com.